Welcome everyone to my channel. This is your first time here. Well, as the old folks know, pull up a seat, sit down, and we are going to discuss this book/story thing that's going on here. I am Leon, your host, and we're going to be talking about the story that's in His Last Bow, which is in this book here called The Disappearance of Lady Frances Carfax. Now, I know you're all probably tired of seeing this book and the cover and everything, but I promise you there is literally this video and then two more, and then this one will be retired. I promise. Anyways, the author is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. The series is Sherlock Holmes. Summary for this story. Miss Daubeny, Lady Frances Carfax's former housekeeper, who was used to getting letters from her mistress on a regular basis, is alarmed by her sudden silence. She asked Sherlock Holmes to ascertain her whereabouts. The detective is quite worried about this young woman who's traveling on her own carrying valuable jewelry with her. Dun dun dun. So of course Sherlock Holmes is pulled into this disappearing case, where this woman disappears, and the old lady's like, I'm worried about her because she's a lonely woman. She's by herself and she's got a lot of jewelry which is valuable. So you need to find her for me, because this is not like her, whether dead or alive. I want to know what happened. So that's what Sherlock does. Dr. Watson is actually sent to do some of the investigation by himself, because Sherlock's like, oh, I can't leave London, so go do it for me. So he bumbles along and does some own investigation before Sherlock kind of comes back and says, oh, I could leave now. So here I am doing the investigation for myself because you're a bumbling old fool. Which actually, I don't think was really what happened. I think Sherlock followed him around. Lady Frances Carfax, rich woman traveling with a lot of priceless jewelry. She had disappeared. She was actually found inside of a coffin that was about to be buried, and she was still alive even though she was unconscious thanks to chloroform. Which I'm told is not really how chloroform works. It doesn't really instantly knock you out, but it does eventually knock you out, and it does eventually keep you out. Miss Susan Daubeny, she was the one who alerted Holmes to Lady Frances Carfax being missing because she'd not been written to in 5 weeks, which was unlike Lady Carfax because she wrote every 2 weeks on the dot, like clockwork. Mary Devine was in this, and she was a maid of, I said a maid of Mary Devine. She was a maid of Lady Carfax, who was released from duties because she was getting married. Honorable Philip Green, a man that fell in love with Lady Frances Carfax, that was trying to find her after she had disappeared. He hoped Holmes would find her along with him, because that's what she wanted. That's what he wanted, to be found. Because he was like, I think I chased her off, but I'm not sure, you know? Reverend Dr. Schlesinger, or as he's really known as, Henry Peters. He and his wife concocted the plan to kidnap Lady Frances Carfax for her jewelry and sell it. And then they planned on killing her using chloroform in a coffin with a real dead body inside of it, because they stuffed her in it with it. Annie Schlesinger, or Annie Peters, she went along with her husband in kidnapping Lady Frances Carfax, but since neither of them had ever murdered before, they kind of balked at it and just wanted to stuff her in a dead body. So here's how they did it. They went and got an old lady that was dying, and when she died, they got a doctor to confirm the lady was dead. And then they went to set up a funeral by making a custom coffin that would fit 2 people. And so they had all the stuff required. They were going to go do a legitimate funeral and bury Lady Frances Carfax, who was asleep but still alive. Technically, she was actually dying from the chloroform and, no oxygen, and the dead lady at the same time. So that way they wouldn't have murdered her any other way, like bludgeoned her or strangled her or poisoned her or anything like that. My favorite character was Watson, because he was stumbling along in an investigation without Sherlock to command him, and he didn't really know what he was doing. My most disliked character was Henry Peters, because he wanted a woman's money and decided killing the woman after selling her jewelry to get the money was the best way to do it. And he has his wife involved. But that's shit. What stood out as memorable, how even after knowing and seeing how Sherlock works, Watson has not picked up on any of the information to use for himself. Like, you've seen how Sherlock puts things together, how he investigates, and you didn't use any of that. You chronic it. You remember it, but you don't use any of it? Like, what the hell's wrong with you, man? Use the information you learn. My favorite passage from the story is Sherlock. That was just a weird thing. Sherlock Holmes was too irritable for conversation and too restless for sleep. I left him smoking hard with his heavy dark brows knotted together and his long nervous fingers tapping upon the arms of his chair as he turned over his mind every possible solution of the mystery. Several times in the course of the night, I heard him prowling about the house. Finally, just after I had been called in the morning, he rushed into my room. He was in his dressing gown, but his pale, hollow-eyed face told me that his night had been a sleepless one. He had finally figured out what had bothered him about the whole situation, including the disappearance and everything he did in the investigation. He found out that the coffin was just not the right type of coffin for a dead person. A small, thin, dead person. My favorite quote: "A clever device, Watson. It is new to me in the annals of crime, referring to the chloroform usage to knock someone out and keep them out while burying them alive." What I thought about the ending of the book? I'm thrilled that Lady Frances Carfax was found and alive and rescued. And Holmes not sleeping was a good thing in my book because then he figured it out. If he slept, he probably wouldn't have figured it out as quickly. She probably would have been buried alive and dead by the time they pulled him out. This book is known for a series called Sherlock Holmes, and there's so many of them, like 62. I rate this as a 3.7 for the new interesting twist of a case that I have not read before because they haven't done a disappearing case yet that I have read. So that was interesting. So if you think I deserve a like, comment, or even your lovely subscription, drop down below. I will see you next illusion.